coming aboard Dredd, did you have any knowledge of the character before going in?
I had some knowledge of it. I read it as a teenager, and to me that was, I guess, one of the aspects about being involved in this project that was really rewarding, because I not only sort of reconnected with those stories I read and responded to as a teenager, but then I discovered a whole lot of new stories that had been written subsequent to my stopped reading them. And what I discovered was this real kind of wonderful depth and maturity that had evolved in Wagner's writing. And I think that was a real gift.
And Olivia, I guess you didn't really.
I had knowledge of the comics, but certainly no acquaintanceship with them until my first real introduction to the world of Dredd was reading the screenplay. And then, of course, from there, after I was lucky enough to get the job, then I kind of dived into the comics themselves.
And it was your first action movie, I guess, right? Well, kind of after The Darkest Hour.
Yeah,
I guess.
It was actually right after. I was in Moscow and then home for 1 week, like 6 days, and then I went to Cape Town. It was a whirlwind.
And physically, for both of you, I suppose, it must have been a really demanding film, right? Just the fight choreography and stuff. How did you guys handle that?
It was physically demanding for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I spent about 14 weeks training before I even got to Cape Town, and then we had about a 2 or 3 week training session with these British military guys who taught us the tactical stuff. And then from there, really, just every day was a challenge. Just wearing that uniform, the leather motorbike uniform and the body armor, and shooting a film in the middle of summer. It was a huge challenge.
In the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, the suit is very tight,
Yeah.
and so there's just resistance on every movement that you make. So even something like walking up a flight of stairs, or I remember, a time or two having to hold my gun up for, entire takes, and just dead at the end. When they call cut, you just kind of drop the gun. You don't really drop the gun, but it can be really exhausting just wearing the suit.
Now, I'm sure, you guys both know that there was another Judge Dredd movie, the Stallone version, but this, yeah. But to me, this is obviously...
That's what everyone keeps talking about.
Kind of recaptures, though, a bit of the satire or the attitude of the original books, and it's much more... the first one was kind of a straight-ahead action film, but this one, as was saying to Alex, doesn't feel lowbrow. It feels like there's some social commentary in there. The same way that the comics was about Thatcher, England, it feels to me that Dredd is kind of about our own time, right? And was that something that drew you guys to the project?
No, not overly. For me, what drew me to the project was the characters.
Yeah.
Because what Alex had done is he had written a fun, action-packed film, but at the heart of this film, it's about the characters. It's about the relationship between Anderson and Dredd and the evolution of that relationship. And to me, if you get the human element right, then that's what's going to engage an audience. And beyond that, also the humor. It's like you actually pointed out. There was a wonderful, dry sense of humor in the comics, and Alex also managed to capture that and inject that into the film.
How difficult was it not having your eyes, basically, acting without them?
It was a challenge, but I guess the interesting discovery really was just having faith that if you think the thought and feel the emotion, that the audience will too. Huge challenge.
And you guys took this to Comic-Con, and so far the reaction's been great. I hear it's about 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So you guys looking forward to showing it to the Midnight Madness crowd tonight? They're usually pretty enthusiastic.
Yeah, I am actually. I think it's really gonna go off.
One of the things that's interesting about the movie is that it feels very contained, right? Which is kind of an interesting way of sidestepping the whole taking off the mask thing too. Not really time to, right?
Yeah.
Is it kind of seen as part of a larger series, maybe?
We have our fingers crossed, but we're also feeling like, at least I can speak for myself, I'm really happy with how this film turned out, and it's great to watch it kind of take on a life of its own, and it feels too early to be putting much energy into thinking about sequels and franchises, But that being said, I love this character. I think she's my favorite character I've ever played, and it would be an absolute dream come true to revisit her. So,
yeah, I feel the same. I mean, I just, we're at the point where we're handing this film off to an audience, and if they have as much fun watching it as we had making it, then I'd love to come back and make more.
Well, so far they seem to be.
They do.
Olivia, I wanted to ask you, seeing as how this was kind of one of your first action movies, something you want to continue with after this, or?
It might be less the genre itself than it is this character, this girl, Anderson. I just, I would play her in any genre of film. I mean, if they made like an Anderson strolls through the park movie, I would be the friend want to play that part still. But
not an ordinary walk.
Yeah, I kind of, in terms of action heroines, I feel like I've kind of hit the jackpot with that.
When you guys were shooting in Cape Town, right? Was there a lot of blue screen, a lot of green screen involved? Did you see kind of the world that you were in the middle of?
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of that, but not too much. They actually went to, we shot in the brand new Cape Town Film Studios, and we took over the whole studio, and a lot of the sets that you see in the movie actually were built, but obviously there are elements that weren't there on the day, and they're extraordinary. And this is a really visual film, and if you're going to see it, you should check it out in 3D, because it's mind blowing.